Jeff Gorton just keeps speaking out about the Montreal Canadiens center situation going into next season, and recent comments have some Habs fans split, but we gotta break it all down. Everything he said about the center situation and how it impacts the rest of the offseason for Montreal. Plus, he spoke about a certain defenseman that is very polarizing for the fan base. We're gonna get into all the Jeff Gorton comments. We also have an article suggesting Montreal make a wild swing on a center from the Calgary Flames in Nazem Kadri that you will want to see this trade offer, and we got to discuss all that impact, but more stuff from The Athletic ranking all the top prospects in the league. Montreal is very well featured. Laval players that can come up. A bunch of great discussion all coming up on this live episode of Habs Digest. Going to be a lot of stuff from you guys today. This is going to be a great one, Jesse. We got news and news and news. A lot of things to discuss. I'm excited. Even in this time of year, there's quotes from Jeff Gorton. There's mock trades. There's discussions about the lineup implications. I love doing this every single week.
For sure, and we know that our boy Jeff Gorton, he was kind of hinting that maybe that secondary market, it might kind of start heating up. And I mean, right on cue, we start kind of hearing some things kind of coming out from various parts of the league. Of course, we know Hughes has not given up. Jeff Gorton either. They said they're not going to do anything stupid. Thank God for that. But you know that they're still working the phones, and as they should, right? Which has really got us so excited. We know that this team isn't like a finished product, but isn't that kind of the fun part of this? For sure, we're going to be excited when that 2C kind of comes, but in the meantime, this is the kind of that fun part where it's this team can go a couple different ways. Are they going to go for a vet? Are they maybe going to go for somebody younger? Do they feel like somebody in-house can kind of take that on? It's going to be very interesting to see, but obviously huge implications for this team going forward.
Big implications. There's so much, every little thing now with this team at the stage we are. Again, like we've been talking about, every little signing, whether it's from whether it's from Laval or whether it's for the actual main roster, there's always something that implicates the rest of the team and our future players because there's so many young guys that are still trying to work their way up into the lineup. We got to get into all that. Thank you everyone for being in chat. Frank Thibault, channel member, hello. Canadiana Kevin, Steve Melser, Norm, welcome in. Norm, what a beautiful summer day to dream about the Habs upcoming season. Absolutely agree. What's up, man? Patrick? We got, sorry if I don't say your name in chat as well. Going to try to get to the channel members first, of course, and the super chats. But hello from New Brunswick, from Michael, Jack McCool, WL, Rowan, so many people in here. Jesse, and you know what? Let's start with something a bit fun. And speaking of the future of the Montreal Canadiens, as Mark Orr comes into chat, hello all you awesome Habs fans, keep the faith, go Habs, go. The classic line from Mark Orr himself, the dapper Mark Orr. Oh, those outfits, every time we see him. Can't be topped, can they, Jesse?
Oh, they can.
Never.
I mean, it was the bolo, I believe. I like it was the Tennessee necktie, just something we'd never seen before. Anyway, our channel members are looking sharp, just through the roof.
Oh,
absolutely.
unbelievable, Mark. Yes, incredible stuff. But you know what? We got to talk about the future of the Habs here now. And there was a great article linked down below, as always, all the articles, all the stuff we're referencing, so you can go check it out and give them the credit they deserve. But William Bourget made an article, which Laval Rockets players could join the Canadiens next season. And you know what? There was a couple interesting names in here, Jesse, that we've heard a lot. Owen Beck, Joshua Watt. But I had to look through the roster here now, and I think my opinion on some of the guys that could come up has sort of changed. And maybe we'll go one for one. We'll mention a couple, and right now in chat or in the comment section if you're watching this after, leave your thought on who your number one and maybe number two players or number one forward, number one defenseman are to come up to the Montreal Canadiens from Laval this year. Because when I look at the defense, Jesse, to me, the obvious answer is David Reinbacher, and I don't really think there's anyone else that's close. Engstrom is definitely the closest, but I still don't really foresee a path nearly as easy for him as for David Reinbacher. And when it comes to forwards, I mean, my vote before might have actually been someone like a Florian Xhekaj or an Owen Beck, but now with Sammy Blais filling a bit of that physicality bottom six role, not to say that would fully stop Florian Xhekaj. I'd love to see Florian come up. I still think it's possible. I think it might be a boring answer, but I'm going to say Oliver Kapanen / Owen Beck for center, just because, Kapanen played in the playoffs with the AHL. I think it's going to be one of these centers, especially if we don't make a 2C trade, and David Reinbacher. I mean, but there are a lot of guys here, honestly, that could be sneaky guys that could jump up, like a Jared Davidson.
Sure, and Kapanen has played a lot of pro hockey, so you have to feel like he would be a solid pick here to play this year. It's going to be well-deserved. I'm excited to see what he can do, right? You got to feel like there's a lot more there in his game. But as well, I think Reinbacher, you're right on. Those are the two most likeliest, for sure. And again, can't wait. What's going to be so exciting. We're kind of forgetting about Reinbacher. We're looking at a decor and wow, it looks so good already, but we're actually forgetting our fifth overall pick. That's not even this is already a decor without the addition of Reinbacher. I think he's a guy that, a lot of Habs fans are kind of forgetting about, but that he's going to pleasantly surprise us. He's going to entertain us. He's going to be playing some great hockey next year, and I just really can't wait to see what that next step is. I'll go off the board. I love Engstrom. I think that that's a guy that he surprisingly looks NHL ready. And I think he's going to get some time as a result. Probably not look too far out of place. If we know him, he's going to come to training camp. He's going to be doing moves all over the ice, right? And you have to feel like he's going to be kind of turning some heads for sure. So I think that he's somebody, a really fun and talented prospect to keep an eye on for the Montreal Canadiens. Other than that, Josh, I think where I'm like my boy. I have to give love to Joshua Waugh. I feel like he's going to come. He's going to get his time. He's one of the players, along with Kapanen for the forwards, I would say, that has, the highest amount of upside. And you just have to feel like he's going to get his chance at some point in time. And while a lot is being made of kind of the players that we've lost the offseason, I'm looking at this lineup as being bolstered. And it's just going to make it that much harder, though, for these young guys to really come and make this team. But, again, this is going to be very interesting to see who plays out, because it's going to be a year of, who's now solidifying their spots, and with all the players that we have coming in, and who else is going to be maybe looking for another job, with another team somewhere in the NHL.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? Because a lot of prospects, as much as we love having good prospects, if they don't see a path on this roster, they're going to be inclined to want to go somewhere else when their contract's up. Now, I know a lot of these young guys are RFAs, they won't get offer sheeted, but you can qualifying offer them, and they can just sign the 1-year deal, and it can be a bit messy. So yeah, I mean, I think you're on point there with a guy like Joshua Waugh. Could easily slip in if we get an injury. I think, again, an injury could cause it, or you show up in training camp, you're incredibly skilled. This is, again, we said maybe last year was Joshua Waugh's last chance. I think he still has a chance in training camp. I think it's way too early to say that he's already gone and he's cooked, he's never making the team. No. But there's other guys too, though, Jesse, that are going to be good competition for him. I mean, I'd love to see in the future, there's a lot of these guys, even the next couple of years. Who knows when Vincent Rohr is over full time, right? He could be very interesting. Mesar, now that he's not injured, is he going to have a bounce back? Maybe not as likely, but a guy like Owen Beck, Jared Davidson, even Sean Farrell had such an amazing season. And on the decor, another thing that we can't necessarily throw out the window, I know this sounds absolutely insane. I don't think he's ahead of David Reinbacher, but even a guy if you need an injury replacement, Mark Del Gaizo is a guy who was on pace for a 100 hit, 100 block season in the NHL. There are guys that have NHL experience. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I don't think it's likely at all that Mark Del Gaizo plays more than 2 or 3 games with Montreal this year. But I'm just saying, right? There's a lot of guys competing for some spots, and I'll read through some of these guys in chat here, Jesse. And I see a lot of people saying Reinbacher and Adam Engstrom, says Norm Stein. Jacob Perez also saying we're gonna get McTavish. Hey, it could be cool. But he said Beck is the guy. Beck will be called up. A lot of love for Owen Beck. And you know what? I think that is fair. And I think especially as we're gonna get into the Jeff Gorton talk and what the 2C situation is, which has been what we've been talking about a lot recently. I think Beck as one of these center options, especially if you want to end up moving someone like an Alex Newhook to the wing. Maybe Sammy Blais plays more in the AHL, where he's an unbelievable player in the AHL because he's very physical and he gets a lot of points. It just works really well. I think he's a bigger asset to Laval than he would be to Montreal. But say you have Newhook move to the wing, right? Then you maybe move Evans to the 3C, Beck is the 4C, something like that. I could absolutely see it. I think Beck and Kapanen, Jesse, we said, are dueling for that spot. And if we don't make a move for a 2C, I actually really envision someone like a Newhook, or I suppose a Dach, moving to the wing and making room.
Absolutely. And you can really bank on a player like Owen Beck. He's just that reliable out there on the ice. And I definitely feel like he's going to be a solid NHLer contributing to that bottom 6. I think in some meaningful ways. I'm going to be really interested to see that progression, because that defense is there, but that offense will kind of come out slowly but surely over his career. But I mean, speaking about players that can really impact our bottom 6, I think it's fair to mention Florian Xhekaj in this conversation. Again, with 24 goals last year, showing that he's more than just a bruiser. And for me, Josh, I actually get quite excited. I think he's going to play more games for the Montreal Canadiens than a lot of people expect. I just think he's going to bring a lot of energy to that bottom 6 with Pezzetta now out of the lineup. That was something great about Pez, is that he got the momentum in the building by those big hits. I think Florian's going to take that to another level. In a lot of ways, I look like Beck as a kind of a Devo 2.0, going to be a solid improvement over Dach, just more and more so over time, but still a solid improvement. And Florian as well, just kind of also being that improvement over Pezzetta. Just really those examples of how this team is improving and getting better, exactly what you want to see. I think that just what he would bring to this team, especially like the energy, just to that Bell Center. And just imagine, Josh, like we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Like I can't help it. Like just like thinking about like a playoff situation, like Florian battles and he gets a spot on the roster this year. And no matter what Martin St. Louis wants to do, like you just can't kick him off. And like a world, like just imagine Florian Xhekaj on the fourth line, Arber Xhekaj drawing into the playoffs. Like I'm not saying they're the only players on like the bunch. I would be so excited for those two to be involved in a playoff game. Like, am I alone? Like I'm feeling that?
No, I mean, leave some love for Florian. They call him the deputy. Yeah, down below, because like, again, I think there's a real world he could play some meaningful minutes for Montreal. I mean, a lot of people are saying Sammy Blais is the Michael Bezzetta replacement. It's like, okay, I definitely get where you're coming from, but like, again, the upside from Florian Xhekaj is really pretty crazy. And like, I know Blake can produce in the AHL, hasn't really done in the NHL. I don't know. Florian's a guy who's scary to play against, so it could be really, really be fun. I wanted to get back to the chat too. Joel saying channel member as well. Again, channel member priority and super chat's going to try to get to all these chats, but it's so hard. You guys are chatting so much, and we really, really appreciate it. Keep them coming. We'll try to read them. Joel says, Watt needs to make an impact this year, IMO. Completely agree, Joel. I mean, this is really one of his last chances. Mark Orr replying to a comment about giving Kirby another shot at 2C said, agreed. If he does not work out by deadline, we can make a move when teams are more willing to sell. There's a lot of stuff we can do. And again, that plays off of what Jeff Gorton has said in this interview that we will get into in a little bit. Again, teasing, like, we know moves don't all have to come all at once, right? We got time to wait, and we'll get there. David Darcy, evening again from Ireland. Paul Cormier, I'm excited about the future fourth line with Xhekaj at center. So that's an interesting thing too, because he has had reps there. Now in the playoffs, he was more of a wing again for Laval, but he played a bit of center. Though, again, Jesse, before we just move on, I just want to point out, like, I know we talk about Beck a lot. Beck and Kaiden, like, Kaiden didn't play, like, that much to get a big sample. I want to see what Owen Beck's face-off percentage in the NHL looks like. That's just my last little thing I want to mention on this front, because, again, like, Jake Evans is now our best face-off guy at, like, 52% last year, just over 52. If Owen Beck can even sniff 50%, and we can have three guys in Evan, Suzuki, and Beck around that 50 mark, I think that makes Kirby, Dach, or Newhook, whoever's the other center, eating like 42, 43% a lot more palatable.
Yeah, that's his specialty, right? So I'd love to see him come, and now it's kind of time for some of those younger guys to come and take some of those key type of positions. But of course, like with the Montreal Canadiens, like the face-off, the circle has been a problem, right? And for that, you're always kind of playing kind of catch up, kind of chasing the puck a little bit there. So I would love to see that this year. Beck, obviously being a part of that wave to help us just really get the puck and, start playing on our toes and really that offensive type of game that the Habs do want to play.
100%. And we got a chat here from channel member Ronk. Good afternoon, peeps. Question: is anyone else dying for October to get here? Every single day. I feel like I'm counting down the days, Jesse. Like, I'm sick and tired of this summer camp stuff. Give me the prospects. Give me the fall. Give me even September. Give me, like, we saw the development camp. I want to see training camp. I'm excited for every single thing. I know every single clip that comes out from that is just going to get us more and more hype, Jesse. I want to see these prospect games, the blue versus white, red versus white. I want to see everything.
I want to see Demidov in the lineup as well. Obviously, it's just going to be so amazing. We got so many great players, but it's really seeing how they're all going to kind of come together here. And again, not a finished product, but just the way that everything's kind of taking shape right now is you have to feel that just, what the sum of these parts is really going to be greater, but like there's really some special elements to it right now.
Cannot wait for it. And, one of these special elements comes in net. And we talk about this guy a lot because he's so fun to talk about. Jakub Dobeš, what a great story, of course. This season coming in with those 5 straight wins against great teams. Yeah, it cooled off a bit towards the end of the season, but the dude basically locked in his spot, so we thought, for the backup the next season. And I still think that is the case this year, but we got a very interesting thing to talk about here because, yeah, we have Jakub Dobeš. He signed a very team-friendly deal, $965,000 per year for 2 years, but Montreal also went out and signed a veteran NHL goalie in Kaapo Kähkönen. And Jakub Dobeš, via BPM Sports, via this tweet here I took from Chris Habs, where he said, "This is my 3rd year pro," said Dobeš. "Every single year I fight for my spot. I fight for my position. It's nothing new to me. I will come prepared to camp and try to make the team. I'm really confident in my abilities." And this just backs up his actions, everything he's ever said as a Montreal Canadien. Like, we remember him going face to face with Jordan Greenway, laughing when Jordan Greenway, basically not an enforcer, but a big, physical, large man, gets right up in his face. He laughed it off. He gets physical. He's bold. And even here, he stole the net from Cayden Primeau in Montreal this year by just being better. So when he's faced with a guy like Kaapo Kähkönen, Jesse, I mean, like, I love these comments. He's like, yeah, I'm just going to work for it, but I'm confident in myself. I mean, I like having this little bit of competition here too. And also, he is still waiver exempt. So even if he starts the year on Montreal, we can send him down with no repercussions. But if Kaapo Kähkönen started on Montreal, he would have to be sent down through waivers. So to me, Jesse, this is still his net, and I think this just solidifies it. I'm actually ready for him to be even better than we all thought. I'm ready for like a borderline breakout year from him. I don't know what it is, but the mentality just gets to me.
And I think a lot of us are starting to like Jakub Dobeš a lot more than you traditionally like a backup goalie. There's just something kind of endearing about him. And again, he impressed us last year, and you really have to feel that, like this is exactly what I wanted to hear from him, from Jakub Dobeš. Like, again, like he's saying, like, just that I'm ready, but there was also a lot of maturity that was part of this quote as well, where he said earlier, he's like, I like it when the Montreal Canadiens bring people to the organization. It means that we're getting better as a team, but it's just like, he has the experience. Obviously, he's gone through the rounds, and it's like, I'm used to kind of having a battle for my position. I think that's just the mindset that every prospect for the Montreal Canadiens needs to have right now. And every player, roster player, whether your spots were secured or not, really, is that you're going to have to come out there every single night and really kind of battle for it. But again, like, also having like a good and positive attitude, like towards competition as well. I think for me, it's kind of a low key example of why Jakub Dobeš is here to stay in the NHL. I'm not talking about taking a starter role overnight, but I think definitely being able to secure himself as a backup role, even though it's a tight situation where Kapaden's a guy who he's got some AHL, some NHL experience. Like Kent Hughes really isn't making it easy on them, but I think it's really going to be for the benefit of the entire organization's goalie depth, including Jacob Fowler, that they are adding this increased level of competition as well.
Completely agree. Couldn't have said it better myself. And like every time I watch Jakub Dobeš, like in those playoffs, like even in games where he like maybe wasn't his sharpest, he let in a softie, he would make an incredible save as well. I mean, this dude optically looked great, right? Like that's the thing. When you watch Dobeš, there's some goalies that you see come into the league, have these great stats in small sample, and you're like, okay, well, maybe they looked a bit lucky, right? And they still did great, but they looked a little lucky. Dobeš came in and looked like a pro. The difference between him and Primeau, and I don't mean to put Primeau down, because I still think he'll have a great career, of course, as a goalie. But this year, I don't think there's any question to say Jakub Dobeš looked way more comfortable and looked way more effective. And there's a poll in chat right now. If you guys don't see it, go vote. All of you can go vote. Who's going to have the backup net at the start of the year? Is it going to be Jakub Dobeš or is it going to be Kaapo Kähkönen? I think we both agree it's probably going to be Jakub Dobeš just because of his unbelievable performance at such a young age. Kaapo Kähkönen, I think, again, is one of those guys that is more valuable to Laval at the moment than he would be to Montreal, especially considering Dobeš is there. He's worked with the team, all this stuff, plus the ability for Dobeš to be waiver exempt, to be sent down if he's really not starting good. You can bring Kähkönen up with no problem, right? Versus the inverse, having to get your guy like Kähkönen have to go through waivers, that's tough because then you only have 3 real goalies in the AHL and NHL combined, and you don't want to risk losing them. So very, very interesting. I want to go back through the chat here, see the channel members. Mark Orr, what does Pez do when he has to drop the gloves with Arber? Do you think there's a chance of that happening, Jesse? I mean, Habs players fighting former players, it can happen. We know they got into a bit of a scuffle at practice. I don't think Pez is ever going to do that in a game, but I do think it's going to be funny to see some former Habs and some guys with their former teams like Sammy Blais and Zach Bolduc whenever we do play St. Louis. I am really excited to see how that goes down. A couple guys who are physical going at their former team. That's always one of the more fun things, more fun narratives in these games.
For sure. And again, it's nice to see former Habs players continuing their careers with other teams. And obviously, we wish them the best, except for when they play against the Leafs. So I want Arber to drop the gloves with the nom de choice. It's going to be all love there. We're not sure how many chances that we'll really get the chance to see both Pez and Xhekaj out there on the ice together. I don't think Pez is going to be out on the lineup all the time. They're going forward for the Leafs. But that being said, we definitely wish them all the best. But, if push comes to shove, obviously, we know our boys will be ready.
100%. I'm ready for that. That's a very, very interesting comment there, Mark. And before we move on, because we do have to get into Jeff Gorton, but we got a very interesting thing first. I want to remind you guys to hit like on this stream. We're at 43, but we got over 300 of you in here. We love the support you've been showing. And if you want to show any love to us, the best thing you can do, honestly, is just to hit the like button down below. One click. It actually helps us out a ton. Pushes this to other Habs fans so they can join you in this wonderful chat, chatting about our favorite team. So thank you all so much for being here. And we're going to move on to the Athletic, Jesse. Again, linked down below as always. And they did their rankings. Scott Wheeler, in particular, did his rankings of all the top prospects in the NHL. Now, what he defined as a prospect, a little loose, and it was his own judgment as to whether this player was fully established in the NHL yet, right? Like if they're, for example, Lane Hutson, Macklin Celebrini, those guys are not prospects according to him because they're established. Like they're NHL players, they played a full season of games, and if they play like the majority of the season, they're not a prospect anymore. Like Bolduc is not a prospect. But a certain guy, Ivan Demidov, absolutely is. And if I go to this list here, he comes in at 3rd. Now, look, I want to see your guys' thoughts. Let me actually start the poll here now. It's probably going to show up before you hear me say this, but let's start the poll here as we end the other one. Most people agreeing, Jesse, that Jakub Dobeš is going to take the starter's net. Where would you rank Demidov as a prospect? And I'm going to say, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4 or below. And this is in the NHL, right? So this is really good praise, but also, Jesse, I feel like there's always some recency bias here. Look, I get the argument for Michael Misa. He's a 6'1" center who just put up insane totals in the OHL. Matthew Schaefer was the first pick in the draft. Understandable. I think it's incredible that last year's 5th overall pick is above everyone except the top 2 picks from this year's draft right now. But I can't help but think, like, I would have had him at least a slot higher. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just biased, Jesse, but I do like the love he's getting, but I'd almost want him higher.
Especially just considering some of the experience that he might have on a Michael Misa right now in terms of maybe being a little bit more of an NHL ready prospect there for sure. So I would love to see that. That being said, like this is giving us probably a good look to if Schaefer and Misa make their respective clubs for the Islanders and the Sharks. Again, that's a big if, kind of there. That this could be Demidov's competition for the Calder. I'd probably throw in Parekh, who ranked at 4 on this list as well. I think that those 4, it could, depending on if Schaefer and Misa both make the NHL, could give some solid competition to both Demidov and Parekh there, who I've been touting for a minute here. So it's, obviously it's really nice to have Demidov at the top of this list. And obviously I feel like we're just going to continue to see that going forward. That being said, it's like, we know who we have for the Calder going in next year. He just seems like he's just living at the rink right now, put in all the work. But again, nice to see him with obviously, the respect's going to continue growing. It's probably not at its final form yet, but definitely the hype for Ivan is definitely growing around the league.
Oh yeah, it absolutely is. And again, like we got to admit that him being 3rd here, again, with only those 2 guys higher is absolutely unreal. And like, I get it. Like I see Alex in chat. It's a great point from Alex. Misa just being a center just gives him the edge on Demidov. And I think that's fair. I mean, when you see what he did in the OHL, I can understand the logic at the very least. And the Sharks also, holy crap, 2 players in the top 7 is crazy. And again, you got to put the 1st overall pick from the draft there. I still think Ivan Demidov is just going to be so good that it's unbelievable. But hey, I mean, we got to give some love there. But there's also 2 other Habs prospects on this list, and we're going to talk about it in a second. But Jesse, we got a super chat coming in from RR Music Inc. for $20. Thank you so much for the super chat. Guys, leave some love. Leave a like on that super chat right now, please, if you want to show us and them some support. DJ Ray, got you, brothers. Habs fan since Dryden, 2 years. Stanley coming home. Longtime Habs fan since Ken Dryden, Jesse. Our last Rookie of the Year winner before Lane Hutson was Ken Dryden, the OG fan. Thank you so much for the donation. 2 years away doesn't sound too bad, does it?
It doesn't. And it seems realistic because, again, we're looking at this team of how good they're going to be. It just, 1 year, 2 years, even kind of 5 years. Like, that's why it's exciting here on Habs Digest. It's just like very few teams where you can say that they're really showing that they're kind of that next team in the NHL. And I think that the Montreal Canadiens, they're making that solid claim. And that's why I think they're taking that much time for the 2C to do it right, is they realize like what they're doing here is special. And once they kind of have some certain players, they're going to want to kind of lock it down for a good minute, kind of have some Golden State Warriors, like a hockey version of that kind of going forward of a dynasty. So that's what they're really going for. So absolutely, like the excitement's here. Like, again, like there's going to be, this next season's going to be very exciting, but just as they continue to build upon it, it's just going to be phenomenal to see how this shapes up. Like, Hudson coming into his own, Demidov coming in his own, like Suzuki, we know what he's capable of. Like, this team is just going to be absolutely electric.
Lane Hutson is Steph Curry. Ivan Demidov is Kevin Durant. I can't wait to see. I know Durant was not part of the original Golden State Warriors, but still, like, it's just, this feels like a super team, right? Those are the 2 guys who are going to be game breakers. And we got Klay Thompson, we got Draymond Green, we got all the Warriors there. Who's Kevon Looney? I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But still, unbelievable stuff. Thank you again so much What'd you say? DJ Ray Ray? Was that the name? DJ Ray Ray. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much for the $20. We got another super chat coming in from Ethan. Ethan, thank you again for being here for the $5. One of our channel moderators, but he's not here at the moment because he's moderating on 2 other channels right now that have no other mods. Ethan, what a fine person you are. Hey, no problem, no worries. We got it under control here, but hey, if you ever want to stop by again, come back here. You are always welcome for the $5. Thank you so much. It's great to see Ethan. So many people rolling here every single day, Jesse. I love to see the returning faces. So many in chat right now, too.
Well, that's it. And just a really community here. And we're so privileged that obviously we get to meet some of our members as well. So yeah, absolutely. We appreciate it. Thank you so much, Ethan, for the support.
Thank you. And I see you, Paul. Thank you very much for that as well. We got the F Trump. Someone's in here every single week. Can we briefly chat about how Josh's brother is a Leafs baby? Well, here's the thing. I don't think he was a Leafs baby. He sort of became a Leafs fan. He wasn't a huge hockey fan for a while, but he became a Leafs fan. And as, you know, Leafs Digest started to go, Nick took over, and hey, full-fledged dude knows a lot about the Leafs now. And, you know, it's all right. It's all right. He likes hating on Lane Hudson, and we like hating on Mitch Marner, and now he's gone. Actually, to be fair, hating on Mitch Marner seems to be a thing both fan bases have enjoyed quite a little bit. So, but no, it's spitting everywhere. But yeah, no,
Matthews for me.
Matthews for you. Yeah, you are very much on that, and hey, I'm okay with it too. But yeah, we'll see where the Leafs go this year. I'm just I'm a lot happier with our situation. Let's just say that. Look, Leafs maybe have more headlines this summer, but who's gonna have them in the next couple of years? But yeah, we're gonna keep rolling here now because we got to get back to these prospects, Jesse. And I didn't take a picture of the others, and I wanted to discuss actually with the chat and you. We'll just bring this up because I want to see the chat's reaction to this. So there were 2 other Habs prospects on this list: David Reinbacher and Michael Xhekaj. Reinbacher coming in at number 39 and Xhekaj at 51. Now, Michael Xhekaj was above a guy like Konsta Helenius, who was like a lottery pick by Buffalo, right? We saw him in the playoffs this year as Laval went up against the Rochester Americans and did beat them. And so Michael Xhekaj, for him to be at 51, I know, like, you know, 50 prospects better than Michael Xhekaj. It's like, it's almost hard to swallow when we know how good he is, but that's actually quite good, especially for where he was drafted, Jesse. And there was a lot of praise from Scott Wheeler. Same thing for David Reinbacher. The only thing with Reinbacher, I think Reinbacher could have been a lot higher. Wheeler just said that game lacks that extra bit of punch to really jump him up. But he did say, look, Reinbacher is shaping up to be the exact kind of defenseman that every NHL team is trying to build their defense around, that kind of style of player. And that is why I think that, yeah, the optics for him at the moment don't look that great, but I'm a firm believer that once we see the impact, especially with the new NHL schemes, Reinbacher is going to prove to be a lot better than the 39th best on this list.
Yeah, for sure. And you have to feel that injuries is a big part of that. Being a little bit lower down this list, he hasn't been able to play as much and really get his calling card out there as much as he would like. That's definitely going to change. He's looking to turn a page on the injuries going forward and bringing a little bit of roughness and toughness to his game. I think that Reinbacher especially is going to be somebody that's going to be surprising a lot of players around the NHL. And I mean, no, Kent Hughes is going to be looking that much wiser for it.
Yeah, for sure. And hey, I mean, look, Michael Xhekaj, I think after this season, Jesse, could very well jump up this list again. Like, dude was point per game player at Michigan this year. And they're getting more talent, right? And he's one of those guys that, again, when we get to Jeff Gorton in a minute, I think Xhekaj is at the top of everybody's mind when we're looking at future centers. Now, Wheeler himself says he actually predicts that Xhekaj will end up being more of a winger at the NHL level, which is possible. But I think that, like, his game is best suited to be a center. And look, one of these guys that I'm just very excited about. And I encourage everyone to take a look at him because he just does everything kind of right. Like, he doesn't have any significant weaknesses. No, like, the super high-end shot, super high-end skill is not really his thing, but it's like high-end skating, high-end shot, high-end playmaking, just like good at everything. And that's why I think that this year, especially with some good teammates, I'm willing to bet his stats are going to pop off the page this year.
Yeah, he's a dynamic player, and he was definitely running a lot of the show for Michigan last year, and you just have to feel like that's going to continue. Like, he is just a dynamic player, and obviously, when the rubber really meets the road, it's really in the NHL. If he's able to be a really successful 2C in this league, you have to feel like he will probably outpace a lot of those people that are ahead of him right now. You have to feel like there is just tons of upside for Michael Xhekaj. He's going to continue to prove that.
Beyond excited. And you know what? You said the magic word again there. 2C. It's 2 words, I guess. It's not really 1 word. It's one concept. And that concept is very important when we're looking at the future of this team. I think I said it as well. But when we're looking at the future of 2C, we've been hearing a lot from Jeff Gorton and Kent Hughes over the course of this offseason as to what's going to happen, right? We're hearing it's probably going to be a trade. Probably wouldn't be free agency, and hey, I'm glad it wasn't, and it probably won't be next year, let's be honest. The trade's going to happen. Well, they've been talking a lot about when this will happen. And Jeff Gorton recently has been saying a lot of, let's wait for that secondary market to open. GMs are coming back from vacation. It's been a little too quiet. We haven't had anything big go down. Yeah, the Vancouver Canucks traded Artur Shilovs. Whoa, that's nothing. It's their AHL goalie. It's something. He had a bit of a run with the Canucks, but you're itching for something bigger. And when we're talking about 2C trades, Jeff Gorton had a very interesting quote here in an article from RG, which is linked down below as well. He said, no, I like talking about getting another center. He's like, I think we're comfortable. We know we're not a finished product, and went on to say we're going to still look and try to improve our team always. A lot of people are talking about centers, but we have centers in our organization, and we're comfortable with that going into camp. And I saw some people react to this as like, hey, saying we're comfortable with what we have is not really what we want as Habs fans. But I think Jesse, especially as we were talking about this quote, like before the show, to me, this is very much like, nah, like he says we're comfortable, but a bit of mind games here, but also like, we're still kicking tires, right? We're still looking to try to improve our team. He says that in the same breath, right? And seeing Jeff Gorton being like, yeah, you know what, we're comfortable, we still want to improve. That not only is a great way to give confidence to your own guys, to have guys in the org, like guys like Dach that are right at the center of so many questions. Guys like Kaiden and Beck who are like, well, I even really have a shot to play center with this team. It gives confidence to them while also implying like, hey, wait, like, we're still trying to improve, don't you worry. As he said, trades can still evolve right up to the deadline.
And the present is starting to matter more for the Montreal Canadiens, and that's shown by them making the Dobson and the Bulldog trades, like active moves to make this team better, but at the same time, still on that approach of the long term as well. Like that same philosophy is being carried through here, and we should be thankful for that as Montreal Canadiens. As much as we would want to see that 2C kind of right away, we should be happy that Hughes and Jeff Gorton, they're not just coming to us every time they're at the podium just saying like, okay, we got a new plan, folks. So you guys ready here? Like we know what the plan is in Montreal. We know what they want to do for this team going forward. And that's what's so nice is this, there's actually like this consistency where it's like we can actually benchmark things and plan for ahead because we know that everybody's on the same page. We know where Jeff Gorton is coming at from, Kent Hughes, etc. So that's what's nice about all of this is for me, like Jeff Gorton comes across like he really does want to make some moves for sure. But at the same time, they're just not going to do it if it doesn't make sense. Like they're as motivated as any of us. They really want to improve this team and they're going to not stop at anything to really do that. That being said, is like it needs to be the perfect fit. And when you are trying to build something kind of, really special like the Habs are doing and kind of these final pieces, it is that 2C is going to be like when building a beautiful home, it's going to be one of those parts of that home that really sticks out, right? So you're really going to want to get this right. And I think that that's just kind of the motivation here. I really feel like they're just doing everything they can this summer to make this team better. And that's what just makes me feel confident, as a fan and as part of the media that they're trying to do something here. Like they're not just resting on their laurels. Like we had a good year. We're going to the cottage this year, Ken, and we're just, going to have a couple brews. It's like, no, they did some good work, but they know that there's still a lot more to do. But again, it's just about having that good plan. And you know what? I think at the end of the day, even though we want to get that 2C maybe a little bit earlier, maybe last year or the year before, it's like we're going to all realize that it was all for, the right cause at the right time.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That is so true. And Jeff Gorton is getting through to us as well. Not just the players, giving them confidence, giving us confidence. And I think like what you said there, that kind of continuity within the organization of like, there's a very clear motive here where everyone has the same goal. There's no secrets. There's no this person said that, this person said this. It's like every time someone from the Habs comes out and says something, it's like, I could have predicted that they would say something like this because it would have been out of character for them not to say this, right? Like for Jeff Gorton to say, listen, we're not rushing into anything. We like what we have, but we're still looking to get better. It's just a great thing that aligns with everything. I feel like there's no secrets. They like keeping their mouths shut when it comes to actual rumors, which is great as well. Nothing really gets leaked, but also they follow through on their word, which is just amazing. Leave your thoughts on that down below. Do got a shout out. Bake Apple Jam. Oh, I love me some Bake Apple Jam. What a wonderful username. Welcome. You are now a channel member, and we'd love to see those emojis from all these channel members. If you think Montreal is going to make a trade for a 2C very soon, send your Chef Hughes emoji or whichever one you like. I want to see Bake Apple Jam coming through with that too. Thank you so much for joining, being a channel member. Really appreciate it. Ethan saying the other stream just ended, so I'm here now. Well, Ethan is back, Jesse. Wonderful to see him back. We got so many great chats coming in now. Paul Cormier, hopeful on Dach. There's a lot of people talking about WL saying Dach has to be mentally into the game. There's a lot, like, you actually make a great point there, WL, saying how, like, coming back mentally from an injury is oftentimes harder than physically. And I think that also goes, just before we transition into Jeff Gorton's other comment on a certain Mike Matheson, just maybe a quick note there. At least I have something to say on, like, I've been injured before, nothing serious. I had surgery on my ankle. I couldn't play sports for a few months. Coming back on the court, like, I was still like, whenever I'd have to pivot, whenever I'd have to turn, like, I would lose a bit of confidence. And it got back eventually because I didn't play at a high level, let's be honest. But at the same time, when you're an NHL level athlete and you're a Kirby Dach, you're a Patrick Laine, these guys, especially Laine, with so much that was going on with him, recovering mentally from that can be tough. And I don't ever want to pretend I'm in their situation, but I think it is a very good point to raise. And just another reason why we got to show all the love in the world for our players, Jesse, because it means more than I think a lot of these guys might realize.
For sure. And Ken Hughes still believes in Patrick Laine, and I think he's done right by us that we need to trust the logic. Even if we're not seeing all the angles, maybe kind of sometimes with theirs, there might be a greater kind of mission with all this with Patrick Laine. Obviously, you still want to hold out that the big vision can kind of execute itself. We'll remain to see how that all kind of plays out. But at the same time, you have to feel like we just want him to be happy playing hockey again, and we want to do right by him here in Montreal. But I think it's fair to say we also want Patrick Laine to do right by the Montreal Canadiens as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. I'm excited to see what's coming this year. As we have Bake Apple Jam not only getting the channel membership, subscribing to the channel membership, they also gifted a membership to Boo Queefius. Oh, what a name. Received a gift membership. Hey, if you heard your name just then, you are now officially a channel member, courtesy of Bake Apple Jam. Leave some love there in the chat as well. Send your new channel emojis. Oh, we got all kinds of good stuff. Mark Orr saying, we did not expect to make the playoffs last year this early in our rebuild, and I don't think that even the biggest fans expect us to win a cup this year. So why would we want them to sell the store now? Yeah, why not? Why would we sell the store? And I think that transitions well into the thing we're going to get into in a bit with that Nazem Kadri mock trade. Because again, I think it sends a message as to how other people envision the Habs versus how Habs fans see the Habs. But before we do, Jesse, I wanted to get your thoughts and the fans' thoughts on this quote on Mike Matheson. I know a lot of fans are not huge fans of Mike Matheson. I have been an unashamed Mike Matheson truther. I don't like the mistakes he makes. I got to admit, obviously. But Jeff Gorton here said, look, it got a little bit of everything. If you look at Mike's body of work since he came to Montreal, he's been a really good player. So sure, he takes criticism once in a while, but he might play upwards of 25 minutes a game sometimes, right? He's been huge right now, and we all realize that. There are no decisions made on Mike right now. And we know they had that conversation earlier this offseason in a room for like 90 minutes or something like that on his future. He did say, look, there's only 1 year left on his deal. They know that, but Mike's been a leader. And we've talked about it before, Jesse. I like Mike Matheson, but I think we've both come to the agreement, I think Chad as well. I don't see how he fits as a second or third pairing defenseman long-term, probably third pairing for this team way into the future, right? So there's a lot of question marks around him. What do you make of Jeff Gorton here? Because I honestly like that he is showing love for Mike Matheson as well. That's one of the big things I love from this piece from Jeff Gorton, where he's just showing love where love is needed to a lot of our players, giving them confidence as well. But I also think that, there maybe is a little bit of an undertone that everyone kind of realizes where this is going, but we do got to appreciate maybe Matheson for now before maybe he's gone in the future.
For sure. And there might be a little bit of gamemanship too, though, with Jeff Gorton obviously talking about Matheson. This is possibly an asset that could be traded in the near future. We wouldn't expect Jeff Gorton to be speaking badly about, that type of player, which very much could be involved in exactly what we're looking to solve at the 2Cs. It's hard to kind of separate those two thoughts that if we get a 2C this summer, you have to feel like Mike Matheson is involved in this trade in some type of way. And because he does have value around the league. And that's why at the same time, like, it is a fair point with Jeff Gorton is saying. It is true that Mike Matheson plays a lot of hockey. And with that, some mistakes will happen. I think it was fair that Jeff Gorton did address the criticisms as well. I think for it to be like a fair kind of commentary on the situation. But yeah, that being said, it's really been one of those things where I have been worried sometimes of like that close relationship with Ken Hughes and Mike Matheson, and then maybe that kind of coming into the picture, especially that I felt that way before the Dobson trade, and I think that definitely just exacerbates that whole situation. I think Matheson on your third pairing, while he has a lot of value throughout the league, it's just not how you want to allocate your cap on the third pairing. It's really not where you want to be putting your money, especially kind of going forward for there. That being said, like, I don't think that Jeff Gordon's going to be heartbroken if Mike Matheson is on this roster by opening night. Like, he makes a great point in this article, which I think we all know, that it's like the team that we have on opening night roster is not the final process by any form. So it's like, even if Mike Matheson is here, this team is going to evolve. But the whole point is that they want to make this as strong as a team possible when it really comes down to that playoff time.
Yeah, exactly. And like he said, right, we not only do we get the secondary market in the summer, we also get lots of teams that, you know, you can evaluate your team in the summer. A lot of the time, that isn't going to be exactly what happens when the season starts, because a lot of guys overperform, underperform. You really don't know where your team is at until you get to that new year. Again, we talk about lots of teams. Montreal, we had a great second half this year. We pushed our way into the playoffs when no one expected us to. Again, everyone talks about the Stanley Cup champ St. Louis Blues team because they were last, right? Like, it takes time to evaluate your team to see how guys gel with each other, especially when we have a new guy, right? Ivan Demidov, who's going to take over a lot of the offensive load. How will he fare? Noah Dobson is new to the system, right? So there's a lot of stuff going on here. Zach Bolduc, maybe Sammy Blais. So full-time center for Dach and Newhook, maybe, as opposed to playing more wings. So there's a lot of stuff. Teams change, and as you get towards the deadline, moves get made. So I'm very excited to see what is coming in the future, though. As we want to go back to the chat here, we got Ethan saying, I personally think that we need a different kind of player type than Matheson now that we have Dobson and Hudson, more of a clearing the net shutdown guy. Jesse, that's something you've been talking about for a long time, right? And I tend to agree, right? Whether that means Arber Xhekaj and Jaden Struble maybe anchoring that bottom pair, David Reinbacher coming in, Xhekaj being that net clearing presence, like something like that, I think is more in tune. But to me, again, like, we have so many young defensemen, I think we can afford to wait until we're clearly in that, like, perennial playoff picture, which I think has already sort of started, mind you. But, like, I think once we see our team, I think those are little tweaks that we can make later, and those kind of moves, guys like that come up at a lot of deadlines. They may be free agents that you don't have to pay too much for. I think those kind of moves are less urgent, but I tend to agree as well that replacing Matheson with a guy who can just annoy the crap out of people in front of the net while the rest of our young decor steps up plays offense, I think that'll be more than good enough.
And with a lot of defensive issues that this team has had, though, I would argue that trading a Matheson fairly early on, even he's part of the opening night roster, once a couple weeks are into the season and GMs are looking to kind of shake things up once they've got a feel of their team, I think that it would be wise, if we're conceding too many goals, to really, again, bring somebody in who's going to be a little bit more of that shutdown type of guy. I think for sure that makes sense, given Hudson, given Dobson. Like, even if Hudson wasn't, like, you know, even with him being the offensive player that he is, it's like, just for the nature of him being like a little bit smaller, I think you want to bring a little bit more size into that back end, specifically there. So for me, makes a lot of sense. Like, I think it could be a key move, like, early on. And that's why it's maybe the 2C talk. Like, that's why I haven't given up on hope for it before the, you know, the beginning of the season, because for me, it makes a lot of sense to make a move to trade Matheson to another. It's just way too many offensive guys for a team that's looking to protect more pucks out of their net. I think it's just a move that probably needs to be made potentially sooner than later.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it all gels, because now I'm curious, like, with Hudson, with Dobson, and Matheson, how is this going to look? And even Cayden Guhle, right? So it's going to be an interesting start to the season, see who's playing with who. Because, like, if Matheson comes in, and, like, maybe he plays with Dobson or something, and then Hudson plays with Guhle or something, I don't know. Like, that's what some people are predicting. And, like, what if that just unlocks the both of them and they're both on incredible pay? Like, we really don't know. I tend to agree. Like, I don't think that's enough reason to be like, oh my gosh, keep Matheson forever. Wrong side of 30. But, like, still, it's going to be fun to watch regardless, and I can't wait. Mark Orr saying, don't ever play poker with Jeff Gorton or Kent Hughes. They use smoke and mirrors like David Copperfield. And you're absolutely right, Mark, because they like to say a lot of the stuff. We never know what's going on. When trades go down, like we said so many times, when stuff happens in Montreal, we don't hear anything about it until, like, the last minute or two before it happens, it seems. Sometimes pretty far in advance, but hey, very, very interesting. But final thing we want to get into, and this is the kind of trade, Jesse, that I think some fans might like, some fans might hate, but it is 2C, right? And again, as the secondary market's evolving, there's been a lot of talk about different teams moving certain guys, and Flames Digest actually did a video earlier on this exact trade, so go check out Mark Griffith, Flames Digest, some of the stuff that they've been doing. But this is, again, this article's linked down below, and look, they're talking about Nazem Kadri because rumors have been circulating around him maybe leaving Calgary. And one of the teams that they had him sent to, one was Philly, one is Montreal, for Alex Newhook, Michael Hage, and Carey Price's contract. The idea being, you get off the negative asset in Carey Price's contract. This helps make the money work. You give the Flames a good center prospect in Michael Hage to help replace Kadri down the line. And you also get rid of an Alex Newhook to open up the center spot right now. Now, I'll just leave this on the screen, and I want to put a poll. I'm gonna say yay or nay to this trade, and I'm not gonna say anything, but it's a very interesting trade, and I think a lot of people are gonna have very interesting opinions of this. That's the most political way to put it, because I didn't actually say anything just then. Look, getting a guy like Kadri, I think would be good for the Montreal Canadiens in a vacuum, right? It's a $7 million deal. He's below all of our top guys. He's scored 35 goals this year. He's a 30-goal scorer, and he shows up in the playoffs. He was one of Colorado's best players when they won the Stanley Cup. A couple of years before that, he had 19 or 18 points in 16 playoff games or something like that. In the playoffs, his faceoff percentage is usually above 50%. Regular season hovers between 45 and 52, with a career-high 56 one year. He fits. He's a left-hand shot center who can score. 4 years left until he's 38 years old, which is tough, but it's $7 million. The problem with me, Jesse, is the asking price. To me, if this was a couple years down the line, I'd maybe consider this more. But the idea of giving up a Michael Hage for like a few years of past his prime Kadri as he's going to decline, I think sends the wrong message, as much as I do like the idea of bringing in a good scoring left shot 2C. I can't get on board with this.
I like the production from Kadri. It's hard to argue against that. Definitely solid production every year that he's in the league, playing a decent amount of hockey. But at the same time, it's just, the contract's the big thing. Like, at 34 years of age, we got 4 more years left at $7 million. That's kind of the deal breaker in all of this. The only thing that makes like this conversation possible in the first place, again, it's not like you have to hold, when you get a contract that like, for sure you're going to be holding that all the way. But that being said, it's like, the Flames definitely want prospects. They want futures, even though they almost got into the playoffs last year. They're still kind of in that rebuilding phase. So that's why there's a world where this kind of makes sense. And obviously Hughes has to be had to have pondered this as well. But at the same time, just I think it's really that contract for me. If we're talking about like maybe he has like 2 years left, that's kind of a big difference for me. Whereas kind of it's just maybe the term left on that deal. Although I really like the production just at that age, as much as I wanted to see Josh and like for this team to improve for like the opening night of next year, I would probably have to pass just because of the contract.
I agree, and I think it's going to be tough for Calgary Flames, because this comes from the hockey writer for the Hockey News, I think, but it was a Calgary. I believe Calgary's the Hockey News. Could be wrong, but the source is down below. I think that Kadri just like, how many teams would Kadri actually fit their timeline, right? Like, how many teams are there in the league that want to take $7 million per year of Kadri, which is going to look like less and less over the course of his contract, of course. It's going to look good. So, like, maybe this year he's a $7 million player. Next year he's a $6 million player, but the cap goes up, so it feels like it. And it just kind of does that. So he's kind of just like even value the whole way. That could work. But I think the only teams that are willing to take a risk on taking on a contract like this are teams that clearly set their contention window for like the next 2 years, and they don't care what happens after, right? So like aging teams, like Colorado is an interesting team. I don't mean to say they're at the end of their cup contention window, because they do have Cale Makar, but they are an aging team again with like Brock Nelson. They got some older guys, but a team who's like, we're going for it now, and 3 years from now, I don't care what happens. If we don't win in the next 2, it doesn't matter. That's the kind of team that Nazem Kadri fits on, because you can afford to take the risk now at $7 million, add a guy who's going to have that production for the next 2 years, and then after it, if you're going to blow it up anyway, who cares? Then his contract doesn't really matter. He's producing, whatever. For a team like Montreal, as much as he fits, again, left shot scoring center, everyone doesn't like this trade in the chat, right? Like this is... and I completely agree. And Joel even saying New York Islanders were told no to Hage or Reinbacher being part of the Dobson trade, so I doubt either would be involved for Kadri, which is why I think Flames fans don't understand how much Habs fans value what we have here, even in an Alex Newhook, right? Again, if it was just Newhook for Kadri, I'd maybe consider it, but I need my boy Newhook stick around the team. But again, Jesse, I just feel like there's a very specific kind of team, a very specific kind of timeline that fits for Nazem Kadri, and to me, Montreal is not close to it. If we were at the end of our cup contention window, maybe that's the time where you would kind of sell a prospect, try and win a cup. If it works, awesome. But for us now, I just don't see a world where trading for someone that old with that much control makes any sense.
And that's what's tough, is that the production's there, and Kent Hughes wants to add to this team. They just don't want to do anything dumb. And I think, kind of looking up Kadri till he's 38, 39 could potentially classify like as a little bit of a dumb move.
Yeah.
There, even though we know that the salary cap will exponentially be going up, and that's still like a fair argument in all of this at such a key position. Again, Kent Hughes isn't willing to flounder in the least, even though that him and the Flames have been recent trade partners. Like, there's a world where you could see it. Like, I know it's blasphemous, but like, I could envision like Kadri in a Habs jersey. It's just that contract is just the thing that's really not doing it right now. I think that losing Xhekaj would work a lot. Like, I think we have to be fair too, though. In the mind of Kent Hughes, there is a huge difference between David Reinbacher and Michael Xhekaj still. Like, they're both valued, but there's a lightning difference between, you know, how high they were selected, that very niche specific right-hand D that Reinbacher plays here. It would hurt to lose Xhekaj as well, even in this trade. I'm not quite under the circumstances. I wouldn't be willing to part with him here either.
Yeah, and like, you know, we see the front office. We've made moves moving out a guy like Logan Bayou, a guy like Emil Heineman, but like the guys that have been like drafted the last couple of years under our regime, especially highly, is like they seem like, I don't want to say untouchable, but obviously you want to hold your own draft picks in high regard, right? Like we did this. Kent Hughes, Jeff Gorton, front office, our boys there, like our scouts, they got these guys. And seeing Michael Xhekaj on draft night, like I feel like moving him would just be so devastating, like on a personal level. And we know Kent Hughes is all about personal relationships too. And I'm not saying that, you know, I wouldn't trade him for anyone in the world. As someone in chat, ML says, look, you say no to trading anything for Xhekaj, but what if it was for Mason, McTavish, or Tage Thompson? In those cases, like, Xhekaj for Tage? Yeah, I mean, like, I think if it fills a very specific need for the team, someone like that, I would be willing to do it, right? Again, putting personal feelings aside, but for a Kadri, like, again, if we were at the end of our cup contention window when we wanted to win in the next two, yes, right? Like, this is the kind of trade you see cup contenders make. You trade a promising young player for someone who helps you win in the area where the timeline where you know you are a contender right now. You already know that. There's no questions versus there's a question more in the future. So very interesting. Ethan saying it's a terrible trade. A Toronto fan must have made that trade. Hey, a Flames fan apparently. So hey, I don't even know. It's pretty crazy. Joel saying, I think I would go for Xhekaj before Kadri. Xhekaj's 28, 6'3", left-handed, good at winning faceoffs. Jesse, he's a guy we've talked about before. Maybe the final thing we'll discuss here. By the way, thank you guys for getting us to 100 likes on this stream. Any shot we can hit 150? We got 400 people in here. We just need 40, 80, or like, you know, just over 10% to hit that like button. Thank you. If you're enjoying, that we would be really appreciated. Xhekaj's a guy we talked about before, Jesse. I like him. I worry that, like, yeah, Xhekaj fills a need. But like we've said before, I mean, if we're making this move, I just don't see Xhekaj as a 2C. I'm sorry. Like, he has good production, and he's a league average 2C by stats, right? Like, he's roughly a league average 2C in terms of production, but he is big and he is left-handed. So that brings an extra little oomph to it, right? Stats while being big and left-handed, but like, you know, like there's these guys that I'm just like, yeah, it would be good. I would not be upset if he was the guy on this team right now, but I would be a little underwhelmed. And I just have a funny feeling that Kent and Jeff Gorton are not going for the underwhelming move here.
It's true. And while I would want like Pavel Zacha's like production to be slightly up, I'm telling you, Josh, there's just a part of me that just really doesn't want to see Kirby Dach at 2C next year. Not on the team. Like, I don't have a problem with him being on the team. I think he still deserves it. But that 2C position, I really think we need to make Kirby or whoever just earn that like a little bit more. We need to covet that position, I think, going forward. Of whoever is getting it really needs to earn it going forward. So that being said, it's like, while Zach's not the perfect fit, do I think he'd probably do a better job than Kirby Dach at that position next year? Yeah, probably. And it's putting a Xhekaj next to like a Demidov and considering how that might potentially kind of affect his production and such going forward, bringing some size again in that left-hand shot. It's something to ponder and kind of consider. Again, the production is there as well. We've seen that, like, it's not quite as high as we would want, but it's right on the periphery. We've seen the Martin St. Louis effect. And while I don't want to like sell low, and I'm not telling like, hey, he's okay, just give up and just go for Xhekaj. It's like, I think that, I don't know. It's just, we need to, I want to do the long-term solution as well and still play, you know, still kind of, you know, play to that part of the game. But at the same time, it's like, I just really feel like we need to get a solid improvement at that position there, just to be getting the puck like a lot more. Not even like with the injury problems with Dach. It's more of like the face-offs and things like that. Like, I just want us a 2C that I know is going to be winning us the puck, so that when you get offensive guys like Hudson and Demidov and Dobson, like, it's great to have, but they need the puck on their stick to be really successful. And that 2C, that centerman, is really key to all of that.
Yeah, completely agree. And you know what? Like, I see where you're coming from. And I think like Xhekaj with Demidov might just be like a 65-point player, right? Like, which is kind of crazy. And all of a sudden, They feel like a 2C. And so, like, there is a world where something like that could happen. And, you know, a lot of people are throwing their 2C suggestions in here. Ethan saying, for example, this is a great 2C idea from Ethan. Just go get McDavid. And I think McDavid behind Nick Suzuki would add a lot of nice depth to this team, right? We're talking about depth scoring all the time. Adding another solid top 6 option, I think, especially next to Ivan Demidov, who's going to inflate McDavid's numbers. I think it's going to look a lot better than it would on the surface. That's a great suggestion there. Ethan also saying Shane Wright. Who knows? Maybe. You know, there's a lot of other ones. Quentin Gauthier said Matty Beniers. Anton Lundell. Lundell is going nowhere. There's no way. There's no way Florida ever lets him go. I would love him. But, like, look, if you're Florida, look at what they did. He's not leaving. I'm sorry. And Mark saying, hit like and subscribe. It's free and you know you want it. Well, thank you, Mark. Like, again, like, subscribe only if you're enjoying the content. If you hate what you're watching, don't bother. You can leave a dislike. But, hey, if you like it and you want to come back, it's free to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to catch back up to Leafs Digest. And we were ahead. They passed us. And you know we can't have Leafs Digest beating us in terms of subs. Habs are going to be better this year anyway. We got Mark Elliott. No to Zaka, Rossi, Kadri, or Shane Wright. None of them fit the plan. Be patient. Nothing out there is worth it yet. And I think, Jesse, that's a nice way to send this thing off. It's just a matter of waiting to see for that right moment to strike. And I know I trust in Jeff Gorton. I trust in Kent Hughes cooking. I trust that the right move is coming. And we got to be patient for it, as much as it kind of pains me to say.
And you know what? That's the fun part again. Put our detective hat. Like, who's it going to be? Like, where is this team going to go? Again, it's so important. You have to feel like Kent Hughes is giving it the seriousness that it really kind of deserves here going forward. So again, you know, he always likes to keep us at the tip of our seat. But one thing we have to know about Kent Hughes and this new regime of the Montreal Canadiens is they're going to do right by this. They care about their fans. They want this team to be competitive. And really, they've given us every reason to just have that faith in them.
I'm so excited. And if you're excited, hey, leave a like on the stream. I know a lot of you are excited. That's the one thing we're going to ask for this. We're going to be right back here next Monday, every single Monday, not to mention videos every single day. If you're new, we know a lot of you aren't new. I see all kinds of familiar names in chat, but we always got new viewers coming in, and we got streams like this literally every Monday night. Videos literally every single day, sometimes more than that if news is coming out. And if you want to stay up to date, this is the spot to be. Bake Apple Jam coming in, new channel member. Great show, boys. Thank you. Mark, or maybe can we get Monahan in a first-round pick for MAtheson? Oh, can you imagine? That would be great. Ethan, right now, Seattle's loaded at center. Wouldn't be surprised if they make a trade. Could be good too. Jesse, I mean, I think that's it for me. You got any final outgoing thoughts here for this wonderful Monday stream?
Thank you all for being with us here today. We truly appreciate the support for making this so much fun. We're just so appreciative of the amazing community that we have, and obviously, you know, be nothing without all the amazing fans and supporters that we have.
Absolutely, completely agree. Well, if you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you want Connor McDavid to be a Montreal Canadien, stats have shown that if you like a Habs Digest video, good things happen. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be right back with you with a video tomorrow. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you on the next one.